Released thanks to the efforts of our allies in the region. We're honored to back their cases. I met another Christian woman, Rhoda Jatau, a mother of 5 and lifelong civil servant. She was accused of blasphemy, and her neighborhood was ransacked in 2022 for allegedly sharing a video that condemned the brutal murder of another Christian. She sat in a jail cell for over a year and a half with little access to family and lawyers while her trial proceeded. Thanks to my team's support, she was released on bail last December, but she still needs your prayers as her trial continues. And I visited 5 largely Christian villages, all attacked over Christmas of 2023 by armed militants. Roughly 200 people were killed in the attacks. The villagers' homes have been set on fire and their farms burned. I met the widows and the orphans and saw the mass graves where many were buried. I saw where one pastor was taken from his home and beheaded. That is why we advocate at the highest levels of international law to secure international action to end the brutal violence that Christians regularly face in much of Nigeria. Through our advocacy, we successfully harness the power of international institutions to bring relief and justice to the persecuted. More Christians are killed in Nigeria than in all other countries combined, year after year. This is a harrowing reality we cannot accept. But what I also saw on my trip was incredible hope, faith, and devotion in Christ. We come alongside these courageous Christians to advocate for them under the law and ultimately to secure victory, not just for them, but for everyone seeking to peacefully live out their faith. I saw the young women converts receiving trauma care and learning to live in a new safe place with a loving church community. I saw the church leaders raising up their congregations and proclaiming the gospel without fear. I heard how Rhoda's faith was strengthened during her trial and imprisonment, and how much she appreciated the prayers and support of people all across the world on her behalf. And at the last church I visited, one of the first churches attacked on Christmas Eve of 2023, with no roof because it had been burned down, I saw a shining white cross standing there still at the front of the church. When I turned around, I saw that the villagers had come unexpectedly to greet us in the church they had recently returned to. They spontaneously began singing a Nigerian praise and worship song, shouting and clapping, "Alleluia, Alleluia," and God will thank you for your love towards us. It was one of the most powerful moments of my life. The Holy Spirit truly dwells with these people in the most difficult circumstances. Their joy in the face of persecution is miraculous. And it is such a joy to know that we, with your support, are able to secure critical legal wins for them. I also learned from all these individuals and the many others that I met during my my time in northern Nigeria just how widespread the injustices against Christians are and how necessary the work of lawyers is to defend their right to freely practice their faith. So many Christians, especially converts and church leaders, face violence, persecution, and discrimination in Nigeria. But through our work and our allied lawyers on the ground, many are finding freedom and hope. While the persecution facing Nigerian Christians is severe, we can and are making a difference. We cannot do this work to stand with our persecuted Christian brethren in Nigeria without your support. Every client I met thanked those who prayed for them and their religious freedom and who contributed to supporting their legal cases. But they also said that more help was desperately needed, and I saw their need with my own eyes. Your support is needed to provide both immediate relief for our persecuted brothers and sisters and to build a long-term legal culture of religious freedom. So, will you join us by backing the legal defense of the persecuted church in Nigeria?
President Tinubu needs to put his best foot forward to govern the country.
If he does that, in 4 years,
he can turn things around. But there are certain critical things he would need to do.
The first thing is to say,
what's the Constitution?
If, for instance,
me and my wife Lillian don't agree in our marriage of 45 years,
then we can't do anything. So the first thing
President Tinubu would need to do
ensure that
Nigerians all agree to be one country.
You recall that
Bolagi asked those two questions. Do we want to be one?
It's not by force. If we want to be one,
how?
We haven't asked
those questions.
Which is why
I told President Adebanji of the Senate that it has taken 23 years to solve the problem of the Constitution. And I urged him, in conjunction with President Tinubu,
to resolve the
Nigerian constitutional question now by inviting the owners of Nigeria.
The owners of Nigeria,
mark you,
were those who
owned Nigeria before Lugard brought his amalgamation in 1940. Call them in. These are the people who own the country and ask them questions. What do you want to see of the Constitution?
Because without the Constitution, we're going nowhere. And no one will doubt the fact that
the Constitution bequeathed by the military in 1999 is unsatisfactory.
You can't build anything
out of a weak foundation. The economic development policy of President Tinubu, the political development policy of President Tinubu, and everything else he wants to do rests on a very solid foundation. So let it really resolve that.
How can we spend 23 years looking for a foundation for building a house? Does that make sense to anybody? So that's my number one issue. We need to resolve this issue of, do we want to be one? And mark you, the flip side of the question is that we mustn't be one, because Yugoslavia, which was 6 countries under Marshal Tito, when he died, decided to break apart. And today, a lot of them are very strong countries: Macedonia, Croatia, Slovenia, Slovakia. They're all doing well. So there is no sacrosanctity about Nigeria being one country. There's none. I personally would wish for Nigeria to be one country, but we must agree. Now that is the problem. Because we have not agreed, and because the National Assembly has appropriated to itself the all-knowing wisdom of giving us a constitution, that is the weakness. So that's the starting point.
They wanted to be separate from the country that the British Empire had imposed on us, which was this country of Nigeria, where they kind of took a bunch of independent nations who don't have anything to do with each other, don't even speak each other's language, don't relate. Many of them were even enemies and warring at the time, smushed them all together and drew these arbitrary lines around them and called them countries and named those countries.
Right.
and then said, now y'all get along and do a country for us and be a union for us. And then go through, contentious, bloody independence processes that never really yield any real independence. You're still part of a commonwealth afterwards.
True.
And you have the eternal meddling in your affairs and the eternal extraction of your resources and the eternal fomenting of divisiveness and infighting in order to be able to control you. This is what an oppressor does, a colonizer does. These are tactics and strategies of dominance.
Right.
We were subjected to that as a larger unit of Nigeria. And then when the Igbo people said, we want our own thing, let's go and do that. Well, it so happened to be that the territory that this new country of Biafra was going to be in included very, very rich oil reserves. And the British were not going to let go of that.
Wow.
And the people that they had put in power, their puppet Nigerian governments weren't going to do that either because they needed it for the Nigerian project.
Right.
And Britain needed it for its own interests and uses. So Great Britain got directly involved in this civil war and in the war for independence and decided that they would do everything to make sure that Biafra did not go.
Wow.
And this everything meant directly funding genocide of the people of Biafra.
They drink, they fornicate, they do all the things that all human beings do. So it's not a question of religion. There's no question of anybody being truly a Muslim there. I knew a chief judge who was supposed to be leading Muslim prayers, who anytime he came to me in my official residence, he would put a brandy or whiskey in a mug and be drinking, and they would smoke and all that. So I don't think it's religion. When they started this Sharia, how many of them are obeying the Sharia? How many of them? No, not none of their leaders. So it's not religion per se, but they use religion to deceive people and say, Hausas were not Muslims at all. So they say, well, let's give you a superior religion, we'll give you Islam. But that didn't apply to the South because we've had Muslims in Yoruba land even before 14th century.
So truly what we are fighting against, or what is going on, is clash of culture.
And civilizations.
And civilization.
That's right.
Not really the Fulani versus the Igbo or the Fulani versus the Yoruba.
No.
It's clash of civilizations.
Yes, clash of civilizations and clash of cultures. Yes, you're right.
That means we have not really integrated as a people.
Never. We have never been.
So the word the Nigerian people is a fallacy. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Because, again, in those days, you would say there have always been Igbo markets, Hausa markets in Enugu, been sabos in Shagamu. But those sabos were occupied by Hausas. Hausas are peaceful people. We traded in Kola North. We did even the few Fulanis that came with them at that time, when you had a Sabo in Shagamu or in Ibadan here, they would still look for one Fulani man and make him their Seriki.
How did the Hausa accept
they were subdued. They were subdued.
Despite their large number.
Yes, they were subdued. Of course, they killed, they ruined, they extirpated their 7 kingdoms. They killed their 7 rulers and took over under the guise of religion. Another thing they used the word corruption. Oh, your people are corrupt. We are sent. Your people are corrupt. They've always used the word corruption to deceive people.
But the jihad is over. How come the Hausa man is yet to claim that Hausaness again?
It's just now that the efforts we are making in the South have begun to yield fruits. You will be surprised to hear that now in Hausa land, we now have Hausa Christians. Never had that before. Never. You now have Middle Belt Forum that are saying we are not Northerners, we are Middle Belters. We are not Northerners. Don't call us Northerners. Now, when you see a Jukun man or you see a Lantan man and you say you are Hausa or you are Fulani, he will be angry. He may even draw his dagger. Don't call me Fulani. I'm not Fulani. I'm not Hausa. What we did not know until recently is that when you call a Fulani man Hausa, he will be angry. He will say, Banzani. Because he knows that I'm superior to Hausa, can you say I'm Hausa? But before now, before Buhari came to establish his suzerainty over Nigeria, we all lumped all of them together for northerners. And like I wrote some 4 years ago, there's no North. There's no North that we used to know. The North is dead. There's nothing called North anymore.
So there's a Fulani now standing on his own.
It's standing on its own. There's no more North. If they try any war today, oh God of mercy. The kind of cohesion you had in the army, the military in 1966, will never happen again in this country, if there is a country at all. You will not find a Hausa soldier now, an Igbo soldier going to Enugu to kill a fellow Igbo. You will not even find an Igbo soldier coming to Ibadan to kill a Yoruba man, or a Yoruba soldier going to Enugu to kill an Igbo man. It will not happen again. So the Lantan people, the Benue people will never ever allow themselves to be used by any Fulani mischief maker.
So if I'm getting you right, your argument is that the Fulani hegemony has been broken.
Dead.
If the Fulani hegemony has been broken,
yes,
does it mean that the social structure of Nigeria is about to witness a very hard hit that will lead to a new Nigeria?
Yes, for those who agree with you to the extent of the fact that there are still some people who want a Nigeria, a group that I don't belong to. But for such people, yes, with the weakening of Fulani hegemony, there could be a Nigeria that will integrate the Soba Fulanis, the town Fulanis, and still reconstruct, rebuild, and then have a Nigeria that should be. But I, as a person, as Tola Adeni, believe that it will take probably 1,000 years to change the mindset of a Fulani person, whose philosophy is kill, maim, rape, send away people from their land, and let me occupy it.
That is the bush Fulani.
It is the bush Fulani.
Not the town Fulani.
Not the town Fulani.
And the town Fulani is more in number.
No! The town Fulani is less than 1%.
How did you get that figure?
Oh, go and find out. Let them allow a sense. Who are the town Fulani? They're very few. The ones who have in Abuja. Or the few that dot spaces in Sokoto. I'm sure that you know that Sokoto, as we speak, is not a Fulani town.
Is it not?
No, that's a mistake we make. Zamfara is not a Fulani town. There are more houses in Zamfara than Fulani. There are more houses in Kano than Fulani.
But the Fulani govern.
They are a town. They are in charge.
Yes, so it's their town.
Yes. By subterfuge, by cunning, by crookedness, by all sorts of gimmickry.
Or by integration.
Not integration, by intimidation. And I said they are politically savvy. What they did to the rest of Nigeria, when they realized that the Fulani in the military, they could no longer use the military to retain power indefinitely. Since they've had power, they had access to the treasury, they say, oh yes, Edmond is from the east, or wherever, brilliant man. He may likely oppose us and contest with us and rival us. Let's make him an ambassador. Let's give him an oil block. Let's make him a billionaire. We padlock his mouth. Let's get an Abiola. Make him a billionaire. Let's get this. Let's get that. And make them big. They will never be able to look us in the face. Then we can continue. Looting the treasury. We can continue. And once when we are in control of the treasury, we are in control of everywhere. So we can hire thugs. We can do whatever we would like. And that is why they introduced what I call plutocracy into Nigerian political etymology. Plutocracy.
Meaning?
Plutocracy is the government of the rich.
Yeah.
Oligarchy is the government of the muscle men.
sentiment is that there are a group of people in this country that feels that this country should be Islamized. This is a fact. Except you want me to start mentioning names of people in this government that we have interrogated. I was a member of an interrogation team, and I've interrogated a very high-ranking member of this government in 2007, 2008 on the issue of Boko Haram. I interrogated him. He's in this government right now. And what was the issue? Boko Haram. And this senior officer was actually let go because he was found culpable. But right now he's in the government. You see, we must say the truth, because if you don't, this country is going down the precipice. We have been set back more than 60 years right now. We've gone back to the time before 1966 now. And whoever is coming back to repair this country has a lot of work to do. This country has never been polarized, so we cannot run away from it. We have never been this much polarized. I'm a federal person. My mind is federal. My brain is federal. My loyalty is federal. I do things for the federal government. So I cannot come here and try to be sentimental. No, I'm a federal person.
So will your life be at risk now that they're hearing you?
I don't care. I don't care. And my colleagues, they know me. Those people that are listening to me, they know me. I don't care. The issue is that this country is bigger than an individual. That is the issue. This country is bigger than individuals. Buhari will come and go. Eliminating me or killing me will not solve the problem and will not add value. But he will come and go. And somebody must come and repair the damage to the psyche of this society, the damage to the polarization, to the nepotism that I've never seen in my life. I work with all these presidents. This is the worst situation I've found myself. And believe me, internet does not forget. I was part of the people that helped to bring Buhari to government because I believe in him.
Have you worked with the government after that?
After
you helped bring the government?
Oh, of course, I worked with him. We brought him in 2015, and I work as the Deputy Director of Defense Administration. And we have a lot of hope in him. And we actually are ready to do anything for him. What he has turned out over the years is shocking to us. I was in Harvard in 2014, in December, when the Department of State Services and CIA and others were contemplating about Buhari and other aspirants. I know what we did to convince the American government that the only person that can come and put this country right is Buhari. That was before the Lagos, APC, before they chose within.
Right.
And that was how Tinubu came in. We know what we did, but what he has done in the past 6 years is shocking. It's unprecedented. And it should not be allowed to be swept under the carpet because the damage to the psyche of this country is monumental.
Must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits that kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one. has rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits. They kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
Which is it for you, Dr. Obadiah? Do you think the government is unwilling or unable to protect the people of Southern Kaduna?
In fact, it is not only unable, it is unwilling, and we have good reason to feel that they are part and parcel of the killers. Let me make some revelations to you.
That's a very big allegation, Dr. Obadiah. The government is part and parcel of the killers.
Yes.
That's big.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. How would the government just say, oh, it is revenge killing and so on? Then you leave it there. Oh, because it is revenge killing and so on and so forth. The body language of this administration, the body language of the state government shows clearly that they have a hand in the killings. No doubt about it. Because, you see, General Abacha, and people don't give him his due. Do you think you would have tolerated such nonsense? And let me make some revelations, because some of us also have our own intelligence networks.
Okay.
Have met with some of the bandits. We have met with some of their high commanders. One or two who have repented. They have sat down with us, not once, not twice. They told us that one of the northern governors is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram and the bandits are one and the same thing. They have a sophisticated network. During this lockdown, their planes were moving up and down as though there was no lockdown. Moving ammunitions, moving logistics, moving money, and distributing them in different parts of the country. They are already in the south, in the rainforest of the south. They are everywhere. They told us that when they finish these rural killings, they will move to phase 2. The phase 2 is they will go into the urban cities, going from house to house, killing prominent people. I can tell you, this is the game plan. By 2022, they want to start a civil war in Nigeria.
Get to the point where we're sending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars abroad to NGOs that are dedicated to spreading atheism all over the globe. That is not what leadership on protecting the rights of the faithful looks like. And it ends with this administration. And I'd add that part of our protecting religious freedom initiatives means recognizing in our foreign policy the difference between regimes that respect religious freedom and those that do not. The United States must be able to make that distinction. We must be able to look at the catastrophes, like the plight of Iraq's Christians over the past 3 decades, and possess the moral clarity to act when something has gone wrong. How did America get to the point where we're sending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars abroad to NGOs that are dedicated to spreading atheism all over the globe? That is not what leadership on protecting the rights of the faithful looks like. And it ends with this administration. And I'd add that part of our protecting religious freedom initiatives means recognizing in our foreign policy the difference between regimes that respect religious freedom and those that do not. The United States must be able to make that distinction. We must be able to look at the catastrophes, like the plight of Iraq's Christians over the past 3 decades, and possess the moral clarity to act when something has gone wrong.
The driver felt the wagon's tires rupture and decided to park the car with the hope of changing the tires. It was like a film. In a GC, motley crowd of armed men in military uniform came out of the bush. They fired at the boot of the car. Ahead of us, 5 of them came out of the bush. The driver felt the wagon's tires rupture and decided to park the car with the hope of changing the tires. It was like a film. In a GC, motley crowd of armed men in military uniform came out of the bush. They fired at the boot of the car. Ahead of us, 5 of them came out of the bush. Another 2 came from the rear. My daughter screamed, "Mommy, Daddy, what's going on?" There was no time to say a word. They marched us through into the bush, firing into the some Fulani, so I understood a few Fulani words. I started pleading, at least for my daughter. To my shock, at gunpoint, they removed the dress of my little girl. One of them carried her on his head as a baby, on his head as my baby struggled, shouting, "Daddy, Mommy, what's going on? Help me!" I could not help myself. We marched for 9 hours. I was half naked. My daughter was totally naked. Her tears was like a stream of blood on her cheeks. Our phones had been seized. We ended up in an ungoverned region in the thick of the forest. We met a well-organized group. There were some kidnapped victims. I saw 2 women, 2 ladies and 3 men. There were some people with their legs chained to trees. They were as if half dead. We were separated. I was separated from my husband. My daughter was taken away. I only heard her screaming intermittently. I did not know what they were doing to her. These men, now about 2 dozen, had a full kitchen. They had a huge camp and a traditional medical team. How can they say they don't know where these people are? How can they say that? But the camps appeared isolated from each other. We heard noises afar, indicating it might be nuclear settlements of camps. Right in my presence, I saw them pack the remains of a woman. They took her and buried her a few meters away from us. She had tribal marks. I cannot describe the agony of 6 days in captivity in this little piece. I cannot talk about how they asked my husband to choose between myself being raped or his daughter being raped. My husband broke down in uncontrollable tears. One of them hit him saying, "Yoruba bastard, you dey cry, idiot." They now gave him an option that he should be raped by one homosexual among them. My husband, a devout Muslim. My husband is a devout Muslim. He told them that homosexual and rape of any kind was against Islam. They hit him with the butt of AK-47. What do you know about Islam? You can imagine, you are being asked to choose between being raped by a homosexual, your daughter just 9 years old, or your wife being raped. They gave the 4th option. If you fail to choose one, we would rape your daughter, rape you, the man, and rape me, the wife. I made myself the sacrificial lamb. My husband begged, saying they should name any price. One of them asked him to bend down. 3 beastly criminals sat on his back, jumping until he was too weak to stand. I was not allowed to put on any additional clothes. Imagine they rape you all night and they stop you from putting on any clothes for 24 hours. The rain fell once. I became a relic at a sexual museum for the armed men who in turn addressed me and asked questions about my financial standing. New Fulani men joined the camp. They organized military training for the new Fulani men that came, teaching them how to shoot and walk through circles of glowing fire. They were not released until after 6 days. We were not released until after 6 days. We had to walk the same zigzag journey back to the main road, our eyes blindfolded. During the negotiation to pay, they said the money was not for them alone, that they had to settle those who sent them. For me, I see a thriving organized crime supported by powerful political interests. Now, I do not think we were released to freedom after paying a whopping 8 million naira. I do not think we can ever be free. We can never be free from the anguish, the psychological trauma, the nightmares we suffered, the occasional fits of my daughter, her waking up at night behaving strangely, her asking the same question over and over, "Mommy, Mommy, why? Why?" And I do not have an answer. In my life, I have never passed through a torture chamber like this. I do not think any society should let this happen. I do not know the fate of those we met and about 7 other people brought during the 6 days we were in captivity. What I saw was a nation that has collapsed, but pretends she lives. A people on life support. Crime is not restricted to Fulani people alone. We have Yoruba criminals, but I don't think Yoruba criminals are this beastly. These elements are savages. I can't imagine Yoruba thieves going to Sokoto or Maiduguri to kidnap Fulani people and keep them in their own bushes. It gives me mental torture that this is happening, and some people are even trying to justify or look for excuses. Well, as a devout Muslim, myself and my family have taken solace in Allah. Not the Nigerian police, not the army, not the government. We have taken our faith the way it came. This is supposed to be fate. I thank God that we successfully returned to where we live, thousands of miles from Nigeria. We thank God that we have made a vow. Never shall me, any of my children, or husband in our lifetime visit Nigeria again. Our remains, anytime we die, will also not be buried in Nigeria. It was a suggestion my daughter made, which we all adopted. I pity the country. I pity her people who continuously walk like the living dead. I pity those who parade themselves as leaders because they know nothing about what is going on and the abyss the country is sunk already. I pity Yoruba people. Oh, I pity you. I pity my people. For me, the issue is not about President Buhari. Democracy can produce anything, even the worst in the society. What I worry about is the conspiracy of silence by the people themselves. The ignorance, the treachery, and the illusion that one day things will get better through another election. Since I was born in Nigeria, each year had led from bad to worse and on and on. I do not have a solution to what is going on, but I think very soon hell will let loose upon the earth as long as there is no law and order and anarchy and the rule of brutes in the order of the day. Once again, there can never be anything more comforting than my husband, who saw what I went through, but was able to encourage me, and even encourage me to write this little piece after months of agony and sociological imbalance. Good night, Nigerians.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, brother. What's today? What made you flow, man? Your flow is like I'm going to die tonight. What can you tell me? What can you tell me now? Okay, Larry.
I really will be 1.4 million, right?
I'm gonna go. I'm dying tonight. I want to for anything. I want to for
anything.
Kí ni wọ́n sọ nígbà tí wọ́n pè?
Wọ́n ní kí wọ́n láwọn owó dọ̀là káwọn tó pè fún mi lówó.
Ẹjọ́ sílẹ̀ bá mi pé ẹ̀ta ìkẹsẹ̀ nọ́mbà ẹ̀ sí wà kí n pè fúnra mi. Mo ti fẹ́ kú bí ọwọ́ mi kan ti dè mọ́lẹ̀ ẹjọ́ flow mà. A ti gbé mọ̀ sí mi lórí ẹjọ́ nítorí náà. Wọ́n ti sẹ́ nọ́mbà ẹ̀ kí n pè é darí ilé ẹjọ́.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
How work?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Ogbeni, what do you have this night?
That's what I'm saying. The money is now 1.4.
Ogbeni, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ogbeni, I'm not going to sleep here today. I will kill this Baba to go.
Sorry, please.
Why Baba tell you to make it with the money, you know, go bring send money for Baba, send out your own money.
I say he has asked me to talk to people and I've talked to them. If they have given me the money, why I not go bring them?
Okay, you can't waste my time, Abby.
No, besides they waste your time, oh. Please.
Okay, what do you can do now?
The thing where they around, I'm trying to see if I can get it up to 2 million tomorrow. Make we come.
2 million.
We just get 1.4 now. You know, I told you in the afternoon when you called me, say the fee never, it don't go beyond it's less than 1 million. But now it don't reach 1.4.
You on that 2 million, go punish you.
Sorry, sir.
They hear me?
Sir, sorry.
You and that money, God they punish you and your family.
Sorry, sir.
They talk to me, they tell me say 2 million, Abi.
Sorry, sir.
Your brother, I don't tell me say you go give me 50 million. You go talk about 2 million. No, you go talk with your dad 2 million. Not count this number tomorrow.
Sorry, sir.
What will be meaning for that? Sorry.
I just beg you now.
Now this ability they do for you.
I said the man where they there with you. Don't be say you get the money for hand. If you say you get where the money they, maybe I go just go by there, I go pick up. The bank they take loan, they do the business. So for me now to get the money, I just talk to people to help us.
Listen.
Yes,
Personally, give people for outside country where then go school. Who go give them money for that people who for the outside country?
Those friends where they outside country, I don't talk to them. They say they go call me. I never hear anything.
Okay. No, tomorrow. Not call me.
I'll call you tomorrow morning. I'll call you tomorrow morning. Let's see what happens between now and tomorrow morning.
My eye, they don't blow the flow. My flow. So my blood no the flow, my hand don't tie. They don't tie my hand, no blood, no the flow.
Okay. Sorry. I beg, Oga. We go give you the money. Wait now. Hey, Josa. Ọlọ́run ó tú yín sílẹ̀, Ọlọ́run ó tú ẹ sílẹ̀ ní sùúrù. Kò sówó ni.
Kò sówó kí ló dé tí bọ̀dá rẹ̀ ni wọ́n máa fún wa ní 50 million.
Àní ṣéwù ni ó fi ilẹ̀ nígbà tí ìṣe tó wá jẹ́ pé òun bá ráyè jáde nísìn ṣe wà pé yóò lọ àríjì sí báǹkì.
Okay, kí n filẹ̀ kó wá lọ arrange owó fún mi kí n dúró de rẹ̀ àbí.
Ẹ má bínú ṣùgbọ́n ètò gbà èmi àwọn èèyàn àwọn tí mò ń pè wọn ò tí ì send kankan sí mi ni. Màá tún gbìyànjú.
Kí ni solution tẹ́ fẹ́ ká ṣe báyìí? Ṣé ká pa mi àbí ká.
Ẹ má pa Ọlọ́run ní jẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ joyè apààyàn lọ́la láàárọ̀ ọ̀la nǹkan bá rí kákó wá mo fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ ràn wá lọ́wọ́ ni.
Kò lè kó sínú ìfún ẹ máa sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ 20 ìfún 30 ẹ máa dẹ̀bẹ̀ kí yẹn tó bá di 5 naira wàhálà lè gbà torí tó ṣe bára mi ṣe fún.
Ẹ dákun n kò síbi tówó yẹn wà ẹgbẹ́ yìí náà ẹ mọ bí ìlú ṣe rí.
Ẹ mọ nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀. Ẹja pàmò yìí tá bá pàmò yìí a máa wá wo ẹni tó máa jẹ owó yẹn ká wá kò ní sẹ́yìn kí òun náà ká rí mu kò lè ju agbára wa ṣé mo how many years la fi tẹ̀lé máa yìí tá a fi rí mú jọ ẹ̀.
Ẹ mọ bínú àní ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ìjọ wo ẹ jẹ́ bàbá tẹ̀ rí bíi 3 tàbá rí 3 láàárọ̀ ọ̀la ẹ jẹ́ n kó wá fún yín Ọlọ́run ràn yín lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run jẹ́ ẹ tún rẹ́ lù míì ẹ tún rí míì.
Kò ní dáa fún yín.
Ọ̀dà mọ́ bínú.
Kò dẹ̀ ní dáa fún fámìlì yín kò sì wáyé.
Ẹ ṣe.
Mo sọ fún kò í ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ 20 ẹ̀ ń sọ fún mi ọ̀rọ̀ 3 àbí.
Ṣé bí tówó bá wà ní nígbà tí ṣe pé owó yẹn wà.
Ẹ gbà ẹ sọ fún bọ̀dá yín kó má bìnrin kó dé ọ̀run.
Ẹ dákun.
Jẹ́ bá mi wọ́n tọwọ́ yìí ẹ gbìyànjú everything.
Ẹ dákun ẹ tú ọwọ́ yìí á rèé sí ẹ. Ikú rẹ̀ ò ṣe yín láǹfààní. Ikú rẹ̀ ò ṣe yín láǹfààní. Ẹ dákun.
Ẹ sọ ń gbọ́ mi.
Sá.
Ikú rẹ̀ tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn torí kò sí òun nìkan nìyàn. Tí n bá pa lónìí màá tún lọ gbé ìlú mi. Tí òun ò bá kú.
Kò ṣe yín láǹfààní.
Ó ṣe mí láǹfààní wàláhì. Ṣé dáàdi mi ni.
Owó yẹn ló ṣe yín láǹfààní. Ẹ jẹ́ ká bí ti wulẹ̀ kó kéré mọ́. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wá ká sì fún yín kẹ́ ẹ sì fi ilẹ̀ kó lè lọ tọ́jú ara ẹ̀.
Kò ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ fílọ̀ fún even kò ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ 20 ò lè gbà lọ́wọ́ mi.
20 kò sí ni tó bá ń bẹ kí ló dé.
Mi ò lè gbà gan tó bá wà mi ò lè gbà kí yẹn tó bá di 5 naira mi ò lè gbà.
Ẹ dákun ẹ bá ń tú okùn tó wà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ kó lálàáfíà. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ikú rẹ̀ ò ṣe yín láǹfààní sẹ́.
Ẹ wá tó.
Ẹ dákun mi sọ kì í ságídí mú bá yín lò.
Àní ẹ wá tó.
Àní ẹ dákun.
Àní ẹ wá tó sẹ́.
Mò ń bẹ̀ yín ni.
Bàbá yìí bó ṣe wà yẹn kò láǹfààní ẹja pà fún yín.
Ṣé bóòdì ò ṣe ní láǹfààní kò ṣe láǹfààní fún wa?
Kí ni àǹfààní rẹ̀?
Ṣé ń pàtí ṣé mọ̀ pé tó bá jẹ́ kó láǹfààní fún wa ní àní mọ̀ dààmú báyìí.
Dààmú náà tó bá jẹ́ pé dààmú ẹ tẹ̀ máa àrẹ́ǹjì owó náà.
Ṣé mọ̀ pé nǹkan kan láṣà tà sáfi rówó kì í ṣe pé owó yẹn ń bẹ ńlé ẹ dákun.
Ok ẹ lọ ta nǹkan tó fẹ́ ta kẹ́ lọ jó owó yẹn sínú iná.
Ẹni tí tá a bá là ta nǹkan ẹni tí ó sanwó fún wa ṣèbí yóò ṣá fún wa lówó náà. Mo ti ṣe tá a ti fẹ́ talẹ̀ àrílẹ̀ ààrẹ ni tí ó sáré fún wa lówó.
Kò sí wàhálà yẹn ò ní pírọ́blẹ́mù. Mi ò lè sùn bíbà níbi tí bàbá rẹ̀ bọ̀dá rẹ̀ wà. Ẹ jẹ́ n pa tó bá di ọ̀la a máa jọ sọ̀rọ̀ máa sọ fún mi.
Ẹ bá ń sẹ́ nọ́mbà ṣan sí mi. Ẹ bá ń sẹ́ nọ́mbà ṣan ká pè ẹjọ́. Nọ́mbà ẹjọ́ máa ń gbé máa ṣan.
Ọ̀dà.
Tàbí ẹni tí wọ́n pè mí. Ẹni voice number is my voice. Kò sẹ́ni lẹ́sìn kò pè mí ní ìsìnjọ́.
Ọ̀dà.
How many minutes la máa fún ẹ?
Ẹ fún mi bí 30 minutes.
30 minutes ti pọ̀ jù wá máa pa fóònù ẹ̀ 30 minutes ti pọ̀ jù.
Ṣebí màá ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bẹ́ni yẹn sọ̀rọ̀ ni màá ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ní kó pè yín ni.
30 minutes ti pọ̀ jù.
Ṣé àwọn pé ọ̀dà mo ti gbọ́ láàrin bí ìṣẹ́jú 10.
Ok mo ti fún ẹ 10 minutes tó bá kọjá bẹ́ẹ̀ máa pa fóònù ẹ̀.
Ọ̀dà.
Hello, and Mrs. Carol Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
May I say how delighted we are to be on Passion?
Thinking about
how we've been having this conversation about the unity of Nigeria. And I reflect back at some of the prominent statements made by some of our founding leaders. And I feel that probably this will help us to have a conversation on the Nigerian unity. I just brought four, not to bore you. First, and I quote, not my statement, Nigeria is not a nation. It's a mere geographical expression. There are no Nigerians in the same sense as there are English, Welsh, or French. The word Nigerian is merely a distinctive appellation to distinguish those who live within the boundaries of Nigeria from those who do not. This is accredited to Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the former Prime Minister of the Western region. The second one, and I quote, it is true that we politicians always delight in talking loosely about the unity of Nigeria. 60 years ago, there was no country called Nigeria. What is now Nigeria consisted of several large and small communities, all of which were different in their outlooks and beliefs. The advent of the British and that of Western education has not materially altered the situation, and the many and varied communities have not knit themselves into a composite unit. This is accredited to Sir Amadu Bello, former Premier of Northern Region. The third, and I quote, since 1914, the British government has been trying to make Nigeria into one country. But the Nigerian people themselves are historically different in their backgrounds, in their religious beliefs and customs, and do not show themselves any sign of willingness to unite. The Nigerian unity is only a British intention for the country.
tí wọ́n dìbò fún tọ́jẹ̀. wọ́n gba 7 million, wọ́n gba 10 million, wọ́n gba 11 million lórí ilẹ̀ bàbá wa. Ọ̀rọ̀ yìí dùn mí, ó bà mí lọ́kàn jẹ́ gan pé tá bá torí pé tó Ọlọ́run gbà fáwa àwa ará àwọn ọmọ tí tẹ̀lé wa tó ń ṣààbò fún wa, àwọn tí ò lẹ́ni tí ó tẹ̀lé wọn kọ́. Ìdí nìyí tó mú mi lọ síbẹ̀ yẹn. Ìgbà tí mo dẹ̀ débẹ̀, ohun tí mo lọ fún ni pé láti lọ bá pé sóńgbó tí ń ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí lórí ilẹ̀ wa